welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to look at how to deal with cyclists on the road. There's a lot of nonsense going around on social media, Twitter, YouTube, about cyclists, cyclist behaviour, drivers, driver behaviour, and the combination of the two is quite a bad mix. One or two high profile people who post videos regularly on Twitter and other places about their perception of poor driving or poor cycling, and I'm not going to get into that. Let's start with the principle that I like to stick with, which is that we are all out here on the road together. It's a shared space and it's everybody's combined responsibility to look after each other, and that includes looking after yourself. So those cyclists who post these videos where they're putting themselves into dangerous situations and then blaming the drivers, all that kind of stuff, there is a responsibility on you to look after yourself and your own safety as well. But having said that, I totally accept that some drivers demonstrate a really poor attitude and really poor ways in dealing with cyclists on the road. I do a bit of cycling, I have a mountain bike, I like to ride off-road, but occasionally that requires you to ride on road for a bit, and some of the passes that I'm subjected to and some of the you know, the ways that drivers deal with you on the road is really awful. So I'm going to introduce you to a little principle which as a driver will keep everybody safe, and it's just a slightly different mentality in how we deal with cyclists. That principle is planning to follow and looking to pass, and I'm going to come back to that in a bit. I'm going to do a demonstration in a bit as well with a tame cyclist. Managed to get hold of a tame cyclist today, and I'm going to demonstrate how this principle of planning to follow and looking to pass works. But let me explain it to start with before we get into the demonstrations. Now, most drivers genuinely want to just deal with cyclists in a safe and controlled manner that doesn't put anybody at risk and doesn't put the cyclist at risk. But they make a fundamental mistake, and it's in the planning stage, it's in the thought process on the lead up to dealing with the cyclist. And what I've noticed is that most drivers approach cyclists with a plan that they're going to pass them. That's the first thing that comes into the mind. Now, there's probably a few reasons for this. The first is, obviously, cyclists are going to be generally travelling quite a bit slower than we are in the car. You know, I'm on a national speed limit road here, the speed limit's 60 miles an hour. A really good, fit, experienced cyclist will maintain somewhere in the region of 25 to 30 miles an hour on the flat, a little bit more on the downhill, a little bit less on the uphill. And I understand that people don't want to be held up forever behind a cyclist going very slowly. But the mistake that they make, the fundamental error that they make in that planning phase when we've seen the cyclist and we're approaching it, is that their first thought, their first plan is to pass the cyclist. That's the mistake. And what I've noticed is that 9 times out of 10, you approach a cyclist with a plan to pass them, it'll be fine. You'll come up behind the cyclist, it'll be clear, there'll be no oncoming traffic, there'll be no risk. You can move out, give them whatever space you want to give them. We'll talk about space in a bit, but you can give them that plenty of space, and you move out and pass them. 9 times out of 10. But on the 10th occasion, people approach a cyclist with a plan to pass. That's all they're going to do, that's all they're thinking about. They move out to plan the cyclist, and they haven't considered whether there might be something coming the other way, or something might come into view, or that cyclist might need to move out for a pothole, or any one of a number of different things that then forces them to very quickly brake and fall in behind the cyclist. The result of that is they end up really close to the back of the cyclist. The cyclist feels uncomfortable. It's not their fault this situation has arisen, they're just riding along. So if you approach a cyclist with a plan to pass them every time, 9 times out of 10 it'll work out, but the 10th time you'll end up hard on the brakes, tight up behind the cyclist. It'll all get very messy. So I want you to change that. I want you to approach a cyclist planning to follow. So if we're driving well, if we're driving to a good standard, if we're driving to an advanced standard, if we want to call it that, what we should be doing is looking in the far distance. If we look in the far distance, we pick up things earlier that allow us to make driving plans and think about what we're going to do. That means we're not relying on our reactions, we're not arriving at things and things are suddenly happening. We've got a plan as to what we're going to do. So we should always be looking in the far distance. And as soon as you pick out a cyclist, what I want you to do is don't think about passing them. Make your first plan that you're going to follow that cyclist. And what will happen is, as you get closer to the cyclist, you'll ease off the gas a little bit earlier. You'll start to roll in behind them. And as you get closer and closer to that cyclist, 9 times out of 10, it'll become obvious before you've even really slowed down that the pass is on. Because I've already said to you, 9 times out of 10, the pass is on. But if your plan is to follow them, on the 10th time, the one where it goes wrong, it won't. What'll happen is you'll roll up behind that cyclist. We're thinking about passing them. We're looking to pass, but our original plan is to follow them. So that way you'll bring your speed down nice and gradually. You won't end up heavy on the brakes. You won't end up being caught out. Instead, you'll roll up behind them into a nice, decent following position where you're not putting the cyclist under pressure. And you'll only have to wait for a short period of time until the opportunity to pass will open up. You'll get a break in oncoming traffic, or you'll get round the blind corner, or you'll get out of the situation where it isn't safe to pass, and the pass will be on. It'll be fine. So plan to follow, look to pass. And I'm going to demonstrate to you now how that works. So I've got my son James, he's out on the bike somewhere. I'm going to catch up with him in a minute, and we'll do several passes on him in different locations and different areas to show you that the best approach is to plan to follow. Whenever you see a cyclist, however early or late you see them, make your plan to follow them rather than to pass them. So just up ahead, James is out on my bike. You'll see him in a second. And what most people do is approach a cyclist. There he is in high vis. They'll approach a cyclist with a plan to pass, and that's what these drivers in front have done now, and they've ended up really close because at the last minute they've realised the pass isn't on. So what I'm going to do is, instead of thinking about passing there, because I can't see into that corner, I can't see if there's anything coming, I'm off the gas nice and early. I'm planning to follow him. So I'm coming in behind him nice and early, and then when the view opens up I can see whether it's clear to go or not, and it isn't at the moment. So I'm just going to follow him at a decent distance, not pressurising him, not making him feel uncomfortable, keeping an eye out behind, looking for that opportunity to pass him. Once he moves left here, if there's a break in oncoming traffic, I'm going to pass him. If not, I want to give him plenty of room, so I'm just going to hang on for a second until he's gone into this corner and we've got a view. Now we've got a view, now I can see it's clear to pass him, and we can give him plenty of room and then bob back in again. So again, there's James in the distance with his high vis on. My first plan is to follow him. Look at him, he's going uphill on a humpback bridge. I can't see if there's anything coming the other way. The amount of people that will move out there and start to pass and then suddenly end up on the brakes, I'm not doing. I'm easing off. My plan is to follow him until I've got a view. Now I can move out now, and then we're moving back in again. So, and I'm doing all that without getting too close. Once this car's gone past, quick check behind, move out, give him plenty of room, and then back in again. We've got another cyclist in the distance down here, not related to my video channel, but let's deal with this cyclist in the same way. My plan is to follow him. It's not to pass him. He's pretty quick, this one. He's all lycra'd up. He's not far below that 30 mile an hour speed limit that I'm at the moment. So actually rolling up behind him gently to follow him isn't difficult, because he's sort of doing almost the same speed as me. The problem is that doesn't give me much plus speed on him that I'm allowed to use to overtake, so I'm going to delay the overtake until we've gone across this bridge, because otherwise I'll be forced into breaking the speed limit. Now I can see there's nothing coming, so I can roll past him at 30, giving him plenty of room. Check the mirrors once I've gone past him, back to the near side. I can only really increase my speed above 30 here. So we'll do it a couple more times in different circumstances, but you can see that planning to follow gives you much more time to think about it. It doesn't force you into a closing gap, it doesn't force you into a gap that's uncomfortable for either you or the cyclist, and you don't end up too close behind that cyclist, right on his tailbone. You end up a little bit further back, a little bit of time to think about it. You know, at one point there where I was moving out to pass James the first time, I moved sideways, but I didn't look with my right foot. I just moved sideways. And then when that car came into view, we could move back in again. It was all nice and controlled. It was all nice and safe. There was no issues for any of us involved in that particular overtake. Might be worth a little note on high vis at the moment, before I catch up with James again. You notice he's wearing high vis. There's a lot of arguments for and against whether as a cyclist you should wear bright colours, high vis, all that kind of thing. A lot of cyclists choose to wear dark clothing, black clothing. Remember, professionally remember who wears black clothing, the SAS, and they wear it for urban camouflage, because even on a nice bright day like this, if you're wearing black, you blend into the background. Now, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't wear when you're cycling, but a little bit of colour, even if it's just on the helmet, for those of us that are looking in the far distance, for those of us that are aiming to see you early and make our plans early, it really helps. It really helps us spot you early and start making those plans early. Now, when you're on tighter, narrower roads, and we're going to do a pass on a tighter, narrower road in a minute, there are times when you might find that cyclists will move out into the centre of the road. Now, they're doing it deliberately and they're doing it for good reason. They're doing it to eliminate the risk, or to reduce the risk from those drivers who don't think before they move out to pass. So if you find a cyclist has moved out to take a central position, it's just for everybody's safety, to prevent you from doing the pass where there is no view, where it's unsafe. What the cyclist should do is, once they're clear of that location, clear of that area where the view is difficult, they should move back to the left and allow you space to pass as long as it's on. So if you encounter a cyclist that's doing that, and that's what's going to happen in this next little scenario, I'll show you how to deal with it. So here, as we approach James, we've got pedestrians on the offside and a corner up ahead, and there could be anything coming around that corner. So my plan is to follow, not to pass. I'm not going to pass him into this blind left-hander. So as we get close to the corner, what you'll see is he'll move out towards the centre of the road a little bit, and he's doing that purposefully to prevent me from passing him and to make it safer for both of us. And I don't have any issue with that. I don't have any issue with cyclists doing that. I'm down into first gear, but look, there's no way I should be moving out to pass him here, and you wouldn't believe the number of people that would consider an overtake here going into that blind right-hander. So all I'm doing is keeping a nice comfortable gap between me and the cyclist in front. And how much is this holding me up? 10-15 seconds? It's not a huge amount. He's moved back to the left now, but I'm still not comfortable moving out and passing him yet. The pass isn't on. I'm waiting till I've got a view past the castle walls on the right here. Let's have a look. And again, we've got another corner coming up. There could be somebody coming around that. So I'm still not moving into the pass. I'm still waiting. Once we come off this corner, and again, we've got stuff coming towards us, pedestrians, traffic, I'm easing off. You have to be patient here, and I know that the cyclist is going to want to move out and pass these pedestrians and give them plenty of room. So we'll do the same. I've got a junction on the right. Remember, it's an overtake. We are overtaking another road user here, so I'm going to be conscious of that junction on the right. Once we're past there, mirror check and roll past him. But again, it's a 30 limit. I can't go faster than that. I've given him as much room as I possibly can. I'm dropping into the grids on the offside of the road there. But remember, plan to follow, look to pass. It's a much more comfortable way of passing people on the road. So the other things you need to consider with cyclists, yeah, I mean, I could quote the highway code to you all day long, couldn't I? The highway code recommends, you know, 1.5 metres. We've seen all those videos, we've seen all the advice, all the grumbling from cyclists and all the rest of it. In truth, what we should be doing is giving cyclists as much room as we can. So don't think I've just got to give them 1.5 metres. If I can do, and you'll see, you know, from the way that I've been passing James in some of those passes, I'm giving him way more than 2.5 metres. You know, cyclists, you can make a bit of a judgment when you're coming up behind them. You can see if they're wobbly, you can see if they've got all the lycra on and if they know what they're doing, or if it looks like they're new to the road, if they're a child, if they're in a group, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into the rights and wrongs of group riding and behaviour of cyclists and all that kind of stuff. That's for somebody else's channel, that. Just remember that cyclists are a big, squishy mass of very soft flesh and bone, and they make a mess. And there's a lot of paperwork after you've knocked one off. And in reality, you know, they are members of our families. They're friends, they're relatives, the people that we quite like having around. So let's look after them, give them a bit of care and consideration. If you ever get the chance, if you're not a cyclist, just go and ride around the block, borrow somebody's bike, ride around the block, see how badly you're treated by some drivers. It's a worthwhile experience. I would make anybody who wants a driving licence just ride a bike for half a day on the roads, for them to realise just how badly you can get treated as a cyclist. So yeah, 1.5 metres as a minimum. I like to give them as much as I can, so I will give them a bit more than 1.5 metres wherever that's appropriate. I will go fully offside. My dad, years ago, when he taught me to drive, said, treat a cyclist like you would a car. Give them as much room as you give a car on an overtake. It's not a bad piece of advice, that. And remember, if the overtake's not on, it isn't on. Not the cyclist's job to get out of your way. They're another road user. We're in a shared space. We're out to look after each other. Remember that. If they're two abreast, well, they're two abreast. We'll deal with them. We'll give them as much room as we can. So that's my advice on dealing with cyclists. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to go and have a look at the website, regslocal.com. There's loads more information there about advanced driving and riding. Not done any cycling videos yet, but you never know. Might strap the cameras on one day. You don't want to see me in lycra, trust me. But for now, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.